Hey there, do you sit cross-legged when you meditate? Well, in this video, I'm going to help you do that more comfortably. This is a bit of a follow-up on my previous video about comfortable sitting posture for meditation, but we're going to really focus on that cross-legged position. Hi, my name is Seth Dellinger. I am a Feldenkrais practitioner, and I've had a daily meditation practice for a number of years. And I'm making this video as part of my series on creative tools for meditation. If you would like to find out how I can help you with any individual questions you might have, go ahead and check out the link below for how you can have a call with me and find out what's going on. Okay, in my last video, we talked about how the position of your pelvis is essential to your meditation posture. While most people address this issue by sitting with some kind of support underneath them, which is exactly the right thing to do, I also explained the importance of knowing how to find exactly the right place for your pelvis to rest underneath you, and what to do to correct your position if you find yourself slumping at some point in your meditation. The basic question here was, how far forward or back are you sitting on your pelvis? And in that video, I gave a couple of simple strategies for finding the sweet spot. And we'll do a little review of that in this video too. However, when you sit cross-legged, the question becomes slightly more complicated. That's because when you sit this way, your posture will always be at least slightly asymmetrical. That's not a problem at all, but it's worth recognizing that by placing one foot in front of the other, you have likely also placed one hip joint in front of the other. And you'll probably notice that one hip joint is also higher off the floor than the other. So if you sit cross-legged, it's worth taking the time to put your attention on the position of your legs and pelvis so that you can notice these details. If you like, go ahead and get into a cross-legged position right now while you watch this video so you can tune into your own experience. Most likely, you are going to want to raise yourself up a bit off the floor with some kind of support. For most people, sitting directly on the floor will cause excessive rounding of the low back, which will lead to discomfort. So, if you're sitting cross-legged now, just notice first which leg you have in front and the position of each of your knees. Now, if you slowly lift one of your knees a little bit and then lower it again, and keep doing that, you'll feel the movement in your hip joint. Pay attention to the area of your groin on that side. Do this with one knee and then the other in order to compare the feeling on each of the two sides. See if you can match those sensations to a sense that one hip joint is in fact further forward than the other and that one hip joint is higher off the floor than the other. Okay, so rest your knees. And now perhaps you will also find that the weight of your pelvis rests more to one side. As you notice these things, please don't try to change it. Again, this is an asymmetrical position, and at this stage of our process, what is most important is to notice what is actually going on in your body. So now, imagine the distance from your left hip joint to the tip of your left shoulder. And then imagine the distance from your right hip joint to your right shoulder blade. You'll probably notice that one of those distances feels longer than the other. This may explain why, when you breathe in, it could feel like you expanded one lung more than the other, or you perhaps have a sense of finding more space in one side of your belly. Again, I can't stress enough that there is nothing wrong with being a little bit asymmetrical. One of the worst things that you could do if you want to have more comfort in your body is to spend all your time trying to live up to some impossible standard of symmetry. However, if you've never noticed the habitual asymmetries in your posture, which we all have, then there are important details for you to notice which will help you clarify your body image. And that's essential for feeling comfortable in your own skin. Here's one simple experiment that's worth doing from time to time if you like to meditate in a cross-legged position. First, as I was just describing, sit as you normally do. Notice which leg you have placed in front of the other. and just notice your overall sense of comfort. Then observe the relationships of your hip joints to each other and to the ground, where you're bearing your weight over your pelvis, and the sense of length through your torso on the left and on the right. Take a few breaths and notice very specifically how you expand internally with each inhale. Is it more in the belly or more in the chest? Do you notice more movement on the right side or on the left? Don't try to change or correct anything. Just notice how it is right now. Once you have a sense of that, switch the crossing of your legs. Put the leg in front that you normally have behind. You will likely feel that this is kind of strange because it's not your habit. You might not like it, but as long as it doesn't produce strong discomfort, just stay here for a minute or two so that you can notice once again the details of how you are sitting and how you are breathing. You might be surprised to find your breath moves very differently inside your torso in this position. Notice the other details you observed before as well. The position of your hip joints in relation to each other and in relation to the floor. Your sense of length from the hip joint up to your shoulder blade on each side. Notice if these things have changed with the new position of your legs. Which hip is further forward now? Which side of your chest feels longer now? Now, switch the position of your legs again, back to the original position. Pause and take a few more breaths here. And just keep doing this. Breathe with one leg in front, and then after a time, switch positions again. Keep going back and forth between the two options. As you do this, you might find that you get more used to the non-habitual posture, but you will probably continue to prefer your first choice. But why do you prefer it? Notice the shifting sensations throughout your whole body as you go from one position to the other. Where in your body do you get shorter when the right leg is in front? What gets shorter when you put the left leg in front? If you pay attention to the length of your spine, the position of your head in space, does one of the two positions seem to allow you to feel a little bit taller? Okay, so come back to whichever position is more comfortable for you and just see if you feel any different than you did in the beginning before trying these two options back and forth this way. And now, noticing that there may be some slight asymmetry here because you are in fact sitting cross-legged, which is not symmetrical. Let's review what we did last time when we were investigating the position of the pelvis sitting in the chair. And very simply, we rocked the pelvis a little forward and a little back. So try doing that now in the cross-legged position. And what you might feel is when you roll a little forward, you are a little bit more on one side of the pelvis. And as you roll back, it may be that you shift over to the other side. The reason that we did this was also to notice the position of the head. So if you're too rounded, in other words, if you roll your pelvis a little too far backwards, you're going to feel your head sinks down from the ceiling. And then as you come forward, if you can allow yourself to expand your belly, think of reaching the pubic bone down and back away from your head. You can come a little further forward, but if you overdo that, then you'll have a lot of arch in your back and you'll feel again that you sort of sink down. So we're looking for the sweet spot where we feel the tallest, where the breath is simplest. Again, we went over this in detail in my previous video if you want to go back and check that out. But once you've found what feels like the best place for your pelvis to be, forward, to back, then go ahead and switch your legs over and try this again with the other leg in front. And it's the same idea, but of course, it's going to feel a little different on this side. And once you've investigated that, you might try switching the legs a couple more times and just see if overall you're getting more comfortable, because you're not just stuck in that one position, but you're actually beginning to understand how having one leg in front compared to the other changes the dynamics throughout your body. Even if you eventually go back to your favorite position for your sitting meditation, just giving your body the opportunity to experience the two different positions may allow your nervous system to make adjustments in the pattern of how you distribute your muscular effort, which can lead to a feeling of better balance and uprightness and ease in your sitting posture. Now, here's one more really valuable thing to know about in terms of orienting yourself for comfort in cross-legged sitting. It doesn't matter which leg you have in front, but think about the distance between your knees. And notice what changes if you imagine the knees being a little bit wider apart or a little bit closer together. Your knees, of course, are at one end of your upper leg, and on the other end is the ball of the femur, which fits into the hip joints in the bottom of your pelvis. And I think you'll feel, if you just keep going back and forth between imagining the knees a little wider or a little narrower, that this changes the position of your pelvis. It changes your overall sense of being able to be comfortably upright. If you'd like to take this investigation into your sitting posture one step further, ask yourself this question. If you were meditating, but something interrupted you and you suddenly had to get up from the floor, how would you do it? Well, to begin, just sit cross-legged and don't think about getting up yet, but just turn your body a little to the left and a little to the right. And see if you can notice that if you go one way, you can keep going, but in the other way, you kind of get stuck, right? So which way is it simpler to turn? When you figure that out, as you turn in that direction, you might put the hand on that side on the floor, and you could even reach across with your other hand and put that on the floor, and you might begin to see how turning could grow into a movement of lifting your pelvis up off the floor and beginning to come up towards standing. Now, it's not important that you actually come all the way up. You could just do a little bit, but feel what would it mean to lift the weight of your pelvis up off the floor here? Where would you put your hands, and how can you do that most comfortably? And then, of course, if you go the other way, it just doesn't really work, right? You would get tangled up in your legs trying to stand by turning the other direction. But now if you switch your legs and put the other one in front, now it makes sense to turn and get up to the other side. So try that. Just change the position and begin turning the other way. And you can actually turn both left and right just to confirm that one direction you get stuck. You feel what that's like. But then practice turning to the side, putting one hand or maybe both hands on the floor and just beginning to make the pelvis a little lighter, or if you like, lifting it a little bit off the floor as if to get up. And the reason why this is a helpful thing to do is if you just come back down and sit now, maybe you kind of just have a clearer sense of how this sitting position relates to getting up. And when you are a little more prepared to move from the position that you're currently in into another position, generally speaking, you'll find that that is also better posture. This is an idea that comes from Moshe Feldenkrais, who defined posture not so much as a particular position, but more as a sense of readiness, as he used to put it, the ability to move at any time from whatever your position may be to any other position without preparation or hesitation. All right, well, I hope that you found this useful. I hope this helps you to discover more comfort in cross-legged sitting for meditation, or just sitting and having a picnic wherever you might be, sitting comfortably with your legs crossed. I would encourage you from time to time to revisit this idea, try that non-habitual leg in front just to see what it helps reveal. And if you like, pretending to begin to come up from sitting up into standing, you probably will do that when you finish your meditation. And I think that you'll find that this just gives you a lot more clarity in how you're sitting so that you can find more comfort in your meditation. In an upcoming video, I am going to address some issues related to the upper spine for sitting posture and meditation. So look out for that one. And thanks for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.